Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Serica Cultivation Cultivator Connections podcast. I'm Matthew Enlow, one of the co-founders and co-owners of Serica Cultivation, and I'm really excited to be talking to everyone today. I've got a guest on. First guest just happens to be my brother, Stephen Enlow. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how's it going? I'm really excited to be here. I've been wanting to see you to start doing this for a long time, so this is really cool.
Yeah, so a quick note on what Cultivator Connections is. Cultivator Connections is a podcast that's supposed to be sort of a way to share knowledge as growers, answer some common questions. Uh, Serica is our mission statement is to help people grow food closer to where they live, learn, work, and eat. And we have a lot of questions that come up from our customers online, from our in-person service customers, and just from friends who want to get that green thumb a little bit greener. And so I'm going to be answering a lot of questions. Hopefully, in the upcoming episodes, we'll have some guests on who are talking about interesting things that they're growing. But it's about building community, building knowledge, having resources and tools available to anyone who wants to grow their own food.
And I think one of the things that is really cool to me about this whole thing is that Serica is so community based, and you guys have so many awesome people that are truly a part of your actual community that will be on as guests, but also just contributors of this whole thing.
Yeah, one thing that we talk about is that we're kind of trying to take an unconventional approach to a for-profit business. A lot of our friends and collaborators are nonprofits in the urban farming world. We're in Los Angeles here, trying to grow food in the city, and a lot of organizations get a lot of traction as a nonprofit organization. But being a California benefit corporation, which is just means that we're a for-profit, but we're for-profit and for good. It's just how we file when we set up our company. Um, and so what we're trying to do is take a different approach to the competitive sort of idea that if you're not working together, then you're a competitor to be defeated. We found that all of our successes come from collaboration. We might be trying to get the same customers, but realize that we both serve slightly different niches. And so everything that's worked for us so far has been flipping that upside down and saying, like, what if we didn't see people as competitors first, but collaborators first?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like from my understanding of what you guys have already done so much of, there have been people who have been quote unquote competitors that you guys have ended up both benefiting more than you probably would have separately, just from realizing that you could work together and serve the same people, but in different ways.
100%, 100%. A little bit about myself. I studied environmental science, and a lot of my focus was on marine biology, specifically marine ecology. And what you see is that the most resource efficient ecosystems have a lot of symbiosis, where there's mutually beneficial relationships, and that's been a huge part of getting started. I want to take a second because this is the first podcast to just talk about Serica and what we are, who we are. Like I said, our mission statement is to help people grow food closer to where they live, learn, work, and eat. Serica, about the name, Serica Cultivation is Serica is Spanish for close or near. And when we were trying to figure out what to name this company, we were thinking local, like getting people trying to be more familiar with their food. And our co-founder, Kevin Dutton, his mom was from Peru, and he grew up speaking Spanish in the home, and he's like, closer, 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 cerca. And cerca is actually Spanish for close or near. And we were like, that's it. That embodies our mission. What I like to say is we're helping people grow food closer to where it's going to get eaten. That's a bit of the sustainability side of it. We're trying to grow closer to our food, meaning that we have a better understanding of the types of effort that goes into it. So maybe we can, when we're considering the type of labor that goes into our food or the farmers, we can just carry that empathy for the hard work that they've put in, and a little bit of the gratitude. And then we're trying to grow communities closer by collaboratively and collectively growing food together, that practice of bringing communities together. That's a little bit about our ethos and like who we are, and just a second about like what we do. So Serica Cultivation is a place where you can go online and you can buy live seedlings. You can find healthy, strong, live plants available for sale. And me, as the horticulture operations side of everything, I'm the one, with Kevin as well. He's my other horticulture right hand. I'm the one who's doing a lot of the menu curating and making the final decisions about what actually is available. So, what time of year should you grow basil? And we're serving the whole country. So we're trying to make, the healthiest basil plant available online to the consumer in Florida, where maybe that's the only people who would be served well with that basil plant. Whereas in like the Northeast, they're thinking this time of year, which it's fall when we're shooting this, just beginning, they're thinking what's going to be able to tolerate the cold. So that's plants like kohlrabi, and like our squash plants are going to be in the summer, but we're thinking broccolis, cabbages, things that are more used to that colder climate. So yeah, we also often say we're trying to meet growers where they're at. That's kind of the closer part. And that means like serving as many people as broadly as we can, selling plants online. And then we also have in-person services in the Los Angeles, Orange County area, which is design, consultation, maintenance, education, and installation. So that's who we are, what we do, what we're
And
thinking.
And I think one of the cool things about that too is from like an outside perspective that has seen this company grow along the way. First off, you guys do a great job at all of those things. Like you guys really, you stick to your mission and you carry it out just one step after another, which is really cool. But also it's interesting just to like even take a peek inside of like the authenticity of just like, I hate that word kind of, but like the through line of everything being true to that same mission, even in that you guys don't refer to your menu or your products, so to speak, as your product lineup or your thing. You refer to it as a menu because at the end of the day, you guys are thinking about the end user every step of it. You're thinking
Mm-hmm.
about this being food growth. You're not thinking about this being products to sell. You're thinking about this as what it actually means to the customer, which is, I think, a really important part of this whole community building and bringing this closer. It's not just for the sake of like, oh, we have this idea for the marketplace. It's really, truly, we see this need that we want to see in the world. We want to see it be met, and it's serving that.
Yeah, yeah. And that was intentional from the beginning. So I mentioned Kevin Dutton, business partner, my other plant dude. And David, while he doesn't always identify as a plant dude, David Crowley's our other co-founder. He's the ethical business side of everything. So Kevin and I were just like, let's start a nonprofit, give a bunch of plants away. But when it comes to that intentionality of taking things step by step by step, David, coming from a business background and being passionate about making a positive impact in the world, and from his starting point, it was he wanted to know where his food came from. So he started looking for people like Kevin and I who had done a lot of growing our own food and helped other people in the past. And he was like, hey, you guys know what you're doing here. Our missions, our personal missions are totally aligned. Let's like refine this into something and make it something that can go so much further. And we went through that sort of like really refining process at the beginning, and it's still being refined, but we try to stay true to that mission. We all believe it so wholeheartedly that we can make a really positive impact in the world by doing this type of work.
No, it makes total sense. And I think that's honestly, that's even kind of reflected with a lot of this now. I mean, the fact that you guys are going through these questions that we're going to be going through, I think is just helpful. It's a way for you to just, again, listen to the needs of people who are actually getting this food and growing this food with you guys and showing them how to do it a little bit better. Sometimes even some of them might just be fun questions, it seems like in this little list of ones. But yeah, I
Yeah,
like that a
yeah,
lot.
and the thing is, there's always room for improvement. I'm growing. I'm learning every day. We grow 15,000 plants per week, shipping all over the country. But I'm always working to refine to make the healthiest, strongest plants that can take the long journey through the mail and get to our customers as healthy as possible. And that's a learning process. I come from, like I said, a science and plant background, but I'm learning that part of gardening is the planning and the from us, a business side, and there's so much planning that goes into it to be able to pull this off. So,
Yeah, that's
yes,
really cool.
without further ado, let's get into some questions. Steven, do you want to throw me some of the questions that we were looking
Yeah,
at earlier?
yeah. Let's get into some of them, and I really like this too because I'm not a plant dude. I'm not somebody who grows. I'm somebody who has done this alongside you for a long time and mostly kind of just watched on the sidelines. But a lot of these are honestly genuine questions that I've had in the past and that you guys have gotten from other people. So
Hmm.
the first one that we have is what are the main advantages, maybe even just what are the main differences of buying
Hmm.
seedlings versus starting them from seed, especially if you're a beginner gardener?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So these some of just for some context, some of these questions are aggregated. We assembled the main theme of several questions that we've gotten. So it's like when we think about the advantages, it's more like there's a different place where every grower is on their journey of um, of their horticulture gardening skills, and it's about finding the right fit for your garden. So, Stephen, if you're getting started,
Yeah.
you've been seeing me do this for longer than I haven't,
Yeah.
but like if I were to give you advice, so your question is, should I buy? Well, how would you say it? Should I buy seeds or buy
Yeah,
seedlings now?
if I'm a beginner gardener, should I start my seeds from scratch or should I buy seedlings from someone like you guys at Circa Online?
Honestly, this is my honest opinion. I'd say both. Um, it's worth
That's really cool. Yeah.
it's worth giving it a try yourself and stumbling through it, and then also having the success, like almost like bottled success in a way, the tailwind, the head start,
Hmm.
so that you can see, okay, this is an example of what it's like for when I get my kale. Like I've got kale seeds, which is a packet of kale seeds is maybe $3, and then a our plants are, depending on if you get them bundled or whatever, it's $2.50 to $3.
Yeah. So about the same price because most people aren't buying a packet of seeds and growing an entire packet at once.
Right, 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 right. You would have to have a lot of space to do that. So your intention is to grow a couple of kale plants, or maybe just one successfully. It's your first time.
Yeah,
So if
exactly.
you have the seeds that you're starting by just throwing them on the ground, great way to start. Putting them in a little bit of soil. In sometimes people will even use like toilet paper rolls or egg cartons. If you get it right the first time, I'd say bravo, you're very lucky. But I didn't get it right my first time. My first plant that I grew was a jalapeno that I got from a packet of seeds, and I like babied it, babied it, babied it, and I got a couple of jalapenos, but that was enough for me to get started.
I remember that.
And then, yeah, I kept it under a little grow light in our kitchen, and then finally brought it out and put it in the soil. But at that same time, I was a teenager and I was I was cashing in bottles to go get plants and seeds. I would recommend if you're getting started, try both and know that any plant that you kill is a success. It's not that you've failed because you've learned. You've only failed if you don't try again.
Yeah.
And just because you haven't tried again yet doesn't mean that you won't try again. So you haven't even
That's really
failed.
cool.
Even still, you still can go and be successful if you do that second or third or fourth plant.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a case where it would make a lot of sense to buy a seedling as a beginner. And sometimes it's even like you just try the seeds and try that, stumble your way through until you see the success. That's a good way to go. Or you just do the seedling and you see what it's like, and then you got the bug, and you're like, okay, cool. Now I want to upgrade my skills to get to the next level, which is I want to grow from seed. That's one path that I've seen some folks go. Another reason why you would do seeds versus let's just say seeds instead of a seedling
Yeah.
is sometimes there's ways to get free seeds. You can get free seeds from lots of libraries have free seed banks. You can talk to friends and families who have been gardening. Most of us have a drawer full of seeds from a couple of years ago, and we don't really want to do them. Maybe we're bored with them. Maybe they're older seeds and we don't germination is going to be low, but it's enough to mess around with. Um, and and so you can get free seeds. You can even from a compost pile, squash will just pop up out of the compost pile. You'll find a tomato plant that's just growing off to the
A
side.
rogue, a rogue gourd.
Yeah, we call in the garden we call those volunteers. That's plants that that's plants where the seeds have sort of floated off wild and seeded themselves. So that's one reason. Or if you're trying to have like a lot of control at a little bit of a higher level, if you're trying to have a lot of control about the specific varieties and hunting for that really special seed. This is for me personally, when I'm gardening, I'm looking for that really, really special in my garden. I'm asking people for this one seed because I knew they grew it, and I was like, let that one go to flower so I can get those seeds. Like, please, please, please give me those seeds. I actually have a couple. I just got given this corn, this beautiful corn from Jonathan Galindez,
Wow.
and this is a corn that they've been crossbreeding for like the past 7 years.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and this is a masa corn, so it's a starchier, and it's more intended for like tortillas and um, rather than a sweet corn, which is what we're used to buying in the store. But yeah,
Yeah.
so friends at this point, friends will give all sorts of seeds. This is um, a pea. I think it's similar to a lima bean, but it's indigenous to this area, to Southern California.
Oh, wow.
It's a crazy purple. Get that? You see that?
Yeah, I see that.
It's a crazy dark purple legume. It's called Ayocate Morado, a purple runner pea. So I think it might be more like a broad Roma bean, actually.
Hmm.
So yeah, at a certain point, you're really hunting for that special stuff because your time and your effort is really valuable. Your time in the garden, you want to make the most of it. So that's a case for seeds. Now, on the seedling side, when you're getting a live plant, like from the nursery or from an online seller, sometimes it's because the seed is really hard to germinate. So that's something like maybe an indigo plant. Like I bought some indigo plants online this year. They're really hard to start from seed. And so I went and I found a small business in, I think it's Georgia, that grows indigo, and that's for making dye. So maybe the seed is really hard to start. Similarly to some of the peppers that we do, some of like the really hot peppers, the germination rate is so low and it takes so much care just to get that one seed to come up that sometimes it's easier to just say it's not worth me spending the next 8 weeks trying to get this one like ghost pepper seed to come up. If there's one that's ready to go and I know it's really hard to do, then maybe I'll just go with a reputable supplier and get that particular seedling because it's hard to find or unique or rare and hard to start as well. So that's a reason why. And
Well,
then, yeah.
So also, it seems like if you're buying all these packs of seeds and each of these is the cost of a seedling or more sometimes, especially for the crazy varieties, it almost seems like you could save money by just getting a variety of seedlings from a place that allows you to buy a big variety of them even.
Definitely, definitely. Um, a packet of kale seeds probably has, if you're lucky, maybe 250 seeds in it, a small packet from the store. You can get any amount of seeds. I buy my seed by, this is arugula from Everwild Seed that I buy by the pound. So you can get any amount of seed, but you're probably thinking, okay, I'll get a packet of seeds for $3 and I'll get 250 kale plants. Yeah, but you only want a couple of kale plants at most. And if you're trying to get more options and maybe some stuff that you haven't tried before, having a
Because
place like
most people are doing an order from you guys. They're not just getting an entire order of 12 plants that are all kale. They're getting a few kale, they're getting a few these, a few that, right?
hmm so we have our bundles are a collection that we've curated. So a leafy green bundle, a veggie bundle, an herb bundle, and a lettuce bundle, and then we have specialty seasonal bundles as well, like roots and shoots is has like beets, carrots, peas, and beans in the roots and shoots. So we've curated bundles, and that's about half of our customers, or half of our plants that go out actually go out as bundles. And then
And
we
then the other
also,
ones are usually also in variety, though, or are they usually just one singular type?
yeah, it's usually a variety, and then people are putting like two or three. Our average order size is 18 plants, and it's usually someone will put two or three of their favorites. So, like for instance, like borage is an edible flower that we sell, and someone might put five borage, and then the other 18, I guess that'd be the other 13 plants, are just picked from our menu, to get a little bit of everything. On the rare occasion, we get someone who's just like, I want all arugula, and I think that the purchasing sort of like the planning, garden planning behind that is a different perspective. I think that the common person who's coming onto our website is looking for breadth for their garden.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for whatever people are looking for. I mean, no one's usually trying to just eat like five massive arugula salads every day for a week when they harvest.
Except for our brother, we have an older brother named
That's
Chris,
true.
and he can eat five massive arugula salads every day for a week.
That is very true.
So there is that type of person, and we have that option available for you. So adding breadth without having to, the seed packets is more than you would need. And seeds have a finite life cycle. You can keep seeds longer in your refrigerator if you keep them really dry and pretty cool, but the dryness is the most important thing.
Which refrigerators are never dry places. They're prone to moisture.
Yeah, they are, but they'll dry out your bread.
True.
But you can keep seeds longer if you keep them refrigerated. But eventually, germination rate, which is every seed packet when you get it new, has a guaranteed germination rate. And the idea there is just given common gardening, most gardeners would be able to get 75, 80, 85% germination of the seeds that they're buying. But that drops off over time. So keeping seeds, the same seeds year over year, like I've got seeds from when I was a teenager, and some of them are fine. Like the germination rate hasn't dropped off, but some, especially like special peppers and certain squashes and like those ones, the germination rate can drop off. And the reason why I've got thousands and thousands of old seed packets is because I only wanted a couple. Um, yeah, so adding breadth. And then the last big category, we had a friend of ours who come by yesterday, and he loves gardening. His name's Matt. He works at the last company that David and I used to work at. And he gets his seedlings from us because he's got a really, really busy job. He can't, I was like, like, do you want to take some seeds? Do you want to take, I was asking him because he knows how to do it. He worked with us. Do you want to take some seeds and some of our trays to grow yourself? And he's like, I don't have time.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah. So just not having the time. And then the last big one, which is the people who we serve in LA, like our bulk orders, because we do like grown to order for more than 3 trays. Those folks are usually coming to us because they've missed they're feeling like they're about to miss the window on the season. So that seasonal timing is really important. If you start your tomatoes too late, then you won't get that vegetative growth, all of those leaves on during spring, so that by the end of spring, they're pushing flowers and fruiting. So, like, for instance, for me, I started my favorite tomato, our ox heart beef steak. It's a sort of
Yeah.
like a heart shaped tomato. It's called Cordobo. I started it a little bit late and I only got like maybe 10, 15 tomatoes off of it. Whereas if I would have started it earlier in the year, I would have probably gotten like 20, 30 at least
Wow.
off of that one
It's
plant.
that big of a difference.
Yeah, yeah. Just seasonality is something that you can't control because plants respond to only a few stimuli. They respond to moisture at their roots, temperature at their roots, temperature swings and humidities in the air, daylight hours, and the fluctuation between daytime and nighttime temperatures. So
Yeah.
those are the main stimuli that plants will respond to, and that will trigger different sort of hormonal responses for whether it's going to be doing more vegetative growth of the leaves for to just become a bigger plant, or to put flowers on to reproduce because it's getting towards later on in the season. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so
So
timing.
I think that we kind of, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off at the end of that.
No, no, you're
I
good.
think
You're good.
we kind of went over this, but just to make it a concise answer, what can somebody be looking at cost wise doing seedlings versus starting from seed if they're a beginner specifically and they're wanting to just do like a home garden?
Yeah. So there's a few different comparisons. There's like, what if I were to just go to the grocery store, right? That's always going to
Yeah.
be cheaper. Then it feels like you should save money gardening, but because you don't have the type of infrastructure of large farms and those efficiencies that come with the larger operations, you're almost inevitably always going to. I would say that there's probably a case to be made that you could save a little bit of money on certain things if you're really, 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 really trying to. But for the most part, gardening is about the experience and the joy of being able to grow your own food and eat what you produce. So,
But I think that because you grow so much of your own food at this point, I feel like
mhm,
you might be a little bit detached from this too, but there is a certain factor of to get that quality of food, depending on
mhm,
where you are, you A might not even be able to get that high of a quality of produce,
true.
or even, I mean, we're in Los Angeles,
Mhm,
and to get the same quality that I would get from you, I'd be going and buying food from a farmer's market or
mhm.
from like an Erewhon or from like a really high-end grocery store on the best day where they just got their produce. But those are the only options for me to get as high of quality of produce as I do from you, from your farm or your seedlings.
That's true. That's a good point. Where like if you're considering like a head of lettuce, the cheapest head of lettuce that you can get at like a Walmart, it's like, yeah, it's going to be hard to beat that even in like the setup cost of a garden alone, whether it's a hydroponic system or soil. You're talking a few $100s to get started, unless you're
Yeah.
going through a lot more like work and effort and time and expertise to rehabilitate like damaged soil, or unless you're really lucky and you've got beautiful soil and you just happen to be
Yeah.
able to access it for free, in which case, lucky you. But when you set up the garden and like the cost of like when will it pay itself off, it's hard to compare the final produce,
Yeah.
apples to apples, no pun intended. It's possible, but that's not really the point. I don't think that's really the way to think about it per se. At least that's not the way I would think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
because the value isn't in terms of like like pounds of arugula. The value is in the process of growing the arugula, and that's
Yeah, exactly.
like I believe that so wholeheartedly, that the process of growing your own food is fulfilling in ways that can't be measured compared to like just going and buying it. Uh,
Yeah.
and like shared experience with the folks around you, sharing what you grew with someone else. It's hard to put a price tag on that.
Yeah, exactly.
But seeds to seedlings, on the other hand, that's a really good comparison, which is like a packet of seeds. Sometimes they're on like a super deal where you can get a packet of seeds for $1. You can get seeds for free, like I said. And I would say it's definitely worthwhile reaching out and getting tapped into your community of growers, because it's not just free seeds, it's free knowledge too. And it's like meaningful experiences.
Yeah, and it's community, and it's sharing a fun thing that you care about and that you're passionate about, or that you're even just trying out with other people who do feel the same way about it.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So seeds and tapping into your community is like, I would definitely recommend that.
I mean, you could even make the same argument that you could do yoga at home in your own living
Mm-hmm.
room pretty easily, but you have a lot of people who really get a lot of value out of going to a yoga class.
100%. Like at the end of the day, a gym is like, yeah, maybe they might have some fancy machines, but you can do all of those workouts in your home. Yeah, that's a really good analogy, which is like, it's not about the final product per se. But when you're talking about so just to get back to the original question, is I think the comparison is a plant is anywhere from, even just like not our seedlings, just a plant, um, anywhere from $1 to $3. Sometimes if you get something a little bit bigger, you might spend 5, $6 on it. And like from one of the big nursery chains, they tend to have nice big plants that give you a great jump start. Uh, but those can be $5 to $15 even sometimes.
I've definitely seen ones cost way more than that from nurseries and stuff like that too.
Yeah, you just don't buy those ones. But a fair price for a plant, anywhere $1 to $5 for a plant, compared to a packet of seeds, which you will get more seeds, but I would argue probably more than you need if
Mhm.
you compare the price per seed. If you really want to save money, buy a pound of arugula seeds, where each one, and I've done the calculations as part of making sure I have a sustainable business model, 0.0003 cents per seed. So if
Wow.
you're looking for one arugula plant, it's definitely cheaper to make that one seed last.
You just have to buy many, many, many thousands of seeds to get that price.
Yes, yes, yes. I think a pound of arugula is somewhere in the like 150,000 seeds.
Wow.
So
So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, I think.
so it's like it's hard to make the cost comparison. It's really hard.
So,
Just serve different purposes.
yeah, and it seems it makes a lot of sense why you guys have the people who buy your seedlings that you do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, and the more I do this, more I learn from our customers what actually serves them better. I could make all the plans in the world, but literally, I brought kohlrabi back by popular demand this week, and
wow.
because I sold that, I did it as a limited time special offering, and we sold out. And then I brought it back on, and we're almost sold out today. And
Wow.
I had no idea. I know kohlrabi is kind of cool. I find it a little bit interesting, but lots of people like kohlrabi, and I'm learning and adapting to meet the needs of as many people as I can.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, getting on to the next question,
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference between hydroponic towers and traditional soil gardening for small spaces?
Mm-hmm. So, for those of you who don't know what hydroponics is the practice of growing plants without soil in a nutrient solution. So, a hydroponic tower usually looks like it's about 5 to 6 feet tall, and you'll see plants growing out of it. like lettuce or cilantro, or sometimes there's veggies down at the bottom, or peppers and green onions at the top. So these hydroponic towers are they are a method of growing your food, um, but there's no soil involved, and that's kind of like for people who've been growing for a long time in soil, or people who just had no idea, is like you can grow plants without soil. And yeah, people have been growing plants without soil in this sort of conventional hydroponics methods since the beginning of the 1900s. People started doing some like experimenting in like academic lab settings, but there's also a rich history of hydroponics that in Mexico, in Thailand, and Southeast Asia, where people were growing in sometimes like leaf litter rather than soil itself. They would build up plant material and sometimes put that out onto ponds that were heavily stocked with fish, and they would grow plants without soil in a nutrient solution, and that nutrients was coming from the ecosystem feeding, but there was no soil actually present. Soil meaning actual dirt mineral particles like sand or silt or clay.
So is that technically like an aquaponics system?
Those are like I would say I would aquaponics is a subcategory of hydroponics where
Mm,
you use fish as a large portion of the nutrients, providing the nutrients to the plant. So yes, they would be more they're hydroponics, but I think they do fit the qualifications of an aquaponic system, kind of. But it was more of a sort of natural approach to it, not too much human input,
yeah.
effort, labor. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't quite so like over engineered, I guess, comparatively.
Mhm.
So if you take away soil, then the question is like, why would you do that? You must have some sort of benefits that you're getting. And the benefits specifically for a hydroponic tower that's growing vertically, where the plants are coming out from the sides, you're getting increased water efficiency. And here in Southern California, where we're in a perpetual drought, that's a big deal. Um,
Yeah.
you're getting water efficiency, you're getting space efficiency, you're getting deployability is what I would say. It's easy and quick and efficient to set the tower up and get growing right away. And accessibility. We work with a lot of organizations with people who have diverse abilities. So they might be in a wheelchair or have like challenges with mobility. So it's hard for them to access the garden spaces. And for those organizations that we're working with, we usually will partner a soil garden with a hydroponic tower so that everyone can enjoy and participate in the garden because there's something that fits for everyone.
That
Um,
makes a lot of sense. And so for those people, it's obviously much easier to access one tower worth of stuff rather than moving around plot to plot.
right. There's less bending down. There's less strain, and you can put it on a paved surface so that you can actually approach it with a wheelchair or a walker.
That's really cool. I never realized that before.
Yeah. So it's been a huge success story at some of those places. Rooftop gardens, weight is usually a huge issue. 20-gallon reservoir full of water in one 4 square foot area is a lot different than a 8 foot garden bed. The weight difference is significant.
Yeah. And then when that 8 foot garden bed gets soaked, it's like it's full of water.
It's like an 8 foot trough of water essentially. So we've come up across issues where we've had a lot of desire for a rooftop garden, but the building simply couldn't take the weight. But we were able to strategically place the hydroponic towers along above supporting walls so that the weight was
Mhm.
distributed rather than on, whereas a garden bed would be, you know, couldn't be
Across a
centralized.
huge surface area, yeah.
Yeah, so we could just place the towers on, and it was like a weird layout, and you were like, why would you ever design a garden like that? And it
That's
was
funny.
because that was how we could actually um,
Like
grow the food on
structurally
the roof.
safely do it, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I fall into an interesting sort of space in the hydroponic growing world. A lot of people go like on one side or the other. They say like hydroponics is the best, only do hydroponics. Or It's like it's so much more efficient, it's so much easier, blah blah blah. Or hydroponics is the worst. Like it's unnatural, and like it's like you're using synthetic nutrients, which is not always the case. There are organic nutrient methods, they're just more work.
Yeah.
Kind of like the aquaponics is one way of tackling that. But I'm completely agnostic when it comes to it. I just want to find the best tool, the best method of growing that can fit for whoever needs it.
Which is really funny because also outside of that, you've had extensive research and success, I think, in aquaponics, which a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people look at as borderline impossible to do successfully,
Mm-hmm.
hydroponics, aeroponics in a scientific experimental laboratory.
It was a
Uh,
tech startup.
yeah, literally. And obviously also like regular soil and whatnot. So I feel like if
Mm-hmm.
anyone was to have a good picture of it, I feel like you're one of the best sources of information on that, honestly.
Well, I just try not to get too dug in one direction or another. I try to just see the benefits for what they are. And if someone's interested in growing and they're really against the mineral-based nutrients that we use, the salt-based nutrients for hydroponic towers, then I have no judgment there. You know, it's about making real decisions about what you're growing and what you're eating,
Yeah.
and those are your decisions to make, and far be it from me to dictate like which direction to go. So some of the differences are that I love growing in soil. I love just getting dirt under my fingernails. I love that there's a ecosystem that's living in the soil of microbiology that's constantly making new nutrients available, breaking down old roots, pulling nitrogen straight from the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I love soil. It's just so, I find it incredibly fun. And so I think there's a lot of beauty in soil. And in hydroponics, I think has a lot of like efficiencies and creativity when it comes to solving complex problems, which as we're facing different food insecurities throughout the world, creative solutions to complex problems is going to be something that we need to be able to access at times. And then we can also just enjoy the soil and the beauty of the soil at times.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, the next question is, can I successfully grow vegetables indoors year round with a basic hydroponic kit?
Hmm. That's a hard question to answer.
I feel like this probably came from somebody who is likely like East Coast or obviously much different climate than Southern California. We're very lucky. We can pretty much grow things year round,
Yeah,
but obviously not everyone can.
I can grow almost anything year round. I'm very, very lucky in that regard. Yes. With a basic hydroponic kit, as long as you have enough lighting, light is going to be the number one thing that you're concerned about.
And I've heard you talk about this before, but a basic hydroponics kit, maybe one that even has a light. Could you
Mm-hmm.
maybe talk about is that when you say enough lighting, are those two the same thing?
Basic hydro, that's a pretty subjective. I think there are some pretty good basic hydroponic kits on the market right now. Good enough to grow some leafy greens and some herbs, but as far as like full fruiting vegetable production, it's those plants need a lot of light. They need a lot of light and a basic maybe as a euphemism for cheap. Those that lighting isn't going to is I haven't seen one. I guess I'd rather say I haven't seen one that has enough lighting to really grow a strong tomato plant or pepper plant or squash or cucumber. They just get really big and they have a lot of leaves and they generate a lot of sugars in those leaves that gets pumped into the fruit, and that's what we love. But sugar is a direct transformation of CO2 and water through photosynthesis. So
Yeah.
if you don't have enough light, those broad leaves, especially imagine like a cucumber leaf is about maybe some of them can be the size of like a dinner plate. maybe a small
Wow.
plate, but they're broad and there's lots of them. And each one of them is expecting to have the strength of the sun to do the photosynthesis that it needs to keep the cells in that leaf alive, as well as contribute to the new growth of more leaves and fruit. So
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It doesn't know it's inside. It's expecting the full sun.
yeah. Uh, there's greenhouses. Greenhouses are a way to grow through the winter. You can't really change anything about day length. There's ways to do supplemental lighting, and there's affordable greenhouses. We grow the greenhouses that we have used in the past for our operation, especially when we were starting out, were $200 greenhouse kits, and those are definitely suitable to grow in some cooler climates through the winter months. And
Wow.
you can add supplemental lighting in, but then we're starting to get more advanced. So basic hydroponic kit, leafy greens, herbs, getting a feel for it is I think the extent of what you could expect out of a basic indoor kit.
Do you have any examples of any that you do like, or that, like, not to put you on the spot and not to say those are the only good ones, but do you have any that, do you guys sell any that you would recommend for this kind of thing, for like an indoor with lighting or anything?
Yeah. We do. We sell an AeroSpring hydroponic tower. I love our AeroSpring, and that's why we decided to partner with them. I'm pretty skeptical when it comes to consumer hydroponic systems because I've grown on some terrible ones in the past, worked really closely with some terrible ones in the past. I really like the AeroSpring. I love growing on it outdoor in Southern California. The indoor kit has, because we're pretty close with the founder and owner of AeroSpring, his name is Torben. He's the one who designed, he started growing hydroponically in 5-gallon buckets and PVC pipes, just like I did.
Yeah,
So when it came to selecting the lights, he and I have had many conversations about, well, why did you pick this spectrum? Why did you pick this intensity? It's like, oh,
that's really cool.
wouldn't you have wanted to go with something a little bit like a cooler lighting spectrum? And he was like, yes, but I think it might have been a little bit too glaring when you have to look into the tent. So the one that we sell, the AeroSpring, I say ours because we're so close with Torben. It has a whole grow tent which can help with controlling humidity. There's a fan that pulls the air out.
Oh,
Um,
that's really cool.
yeah, and it's got a full three. It's a hexagon, so it's got full 360-degree coverage of the plants that are growing outwards because the lights are run vertically.
Oh, wow.
And it it has a lot of light. It has a lot of light, but even still, I think the question was, can grow vegetables indoors year round with a basic indoor hydroponic system? Vegetables are always going to be hard because they've got bigger leaves. They like to grow bigger and they like the sun. But
Yeah,
you definitely expand. And the thing about the AeroSpring is, I wouldn't call it basic. I would say that anyone can use it, but it's a slightly more advanced kit just from what I've used. Anyone can use it. We've had plenty of people who've never grown before be successful on it, growing indoors in Chicago, in Maine.
yeah. I've interacted with those a bit. They do seem like a beginner could totally figure it out, but it does seem like it has more to offer than just what a big. It seems like it has stuff to offer a beginner as well as other people who are more advanced.
Yeah, and it expands you out into doing things like more than just like lettuces and herbs to like I could do a full size bok choy, which is
Yeah,
a in the cabbage family. So I could I can expand out more towards certain veggies and be perfectly successful on that kit. So
that's really cool.
I hate to be so when it comes to hydroponic and plant questions, but I hope that this is useful to our listeners.
No, I think it is. I mean, I've learned things and I'm around you often. So I
Yeah.
think that people will definitely think so. All right. So this is kind of moving into another topic altogether of essential equipment for
Mhm.
beginners specifically. So, what basic equipment do I need to start a small hydroponic garden at home?
Okay.
So this might be maybe a more basic, I'm thinking, of a question
Yeah,
than like an aeroponic, or not aeroponics, but the garden that you just talked about.
yeah, yeah. So a really basic kit. So I'm gonna take this question and assume that people are interested in the more DIY approach, which is where I started. There's different types of hydroponic systems, which I'd love to get into probably on another podcast in the future. But there's some that don't even need pumps. So those are referred to as either wicking or cracked key systems. So a wicking or crack key system is going to not have any pump, but you're depending upon the gap between the top of the plant and the roots that grow down into the water, which isn't moving. You don't need a pump, you don't need an air pump, but that gap actually oxygenates the root zone, allows the plant to not just be completely soggy and be anaerobic at the root zone, which will cause the roots to start rotting. So the basic equipment will be some sort of a container, a 5 gallon bucket, maybe a 10 gallon Rubbermaid tub. Uh, you're going to be cutting holes out, so some sort of a hole saw drill, something that can cut a hole big enough to put some sort of a cup that holds the plant in position. You're going to need some sort of a growing medium. So hydroponics is growing plants without soil in a nutrient solution. The plant still needs something to hold on to. So that could be cocoa core. That could be, there's some foam based growing mediums. There's rock wool, which is it's minerals that have been heated up and spun into a fiber that's compressed into these little blocks. That's a pretty common beginner hydroponic medium. There's expanding grow plugs, which have cocoa core, or sometimes a combination of cocoa core, peat moss that have been compressed into little pucks that hydrate. So you're gonna need some sort of a growing medium and something. I've seen people use yogurt cups, and they an X-Acto knife, they cut slits into the yogurt cup, and that's pretty much it for the structure of it. You need some sort of a growing medium, something soft that the plants can germinate in. You can use a soil blend, like a potting soil blend, because they're not going to be in that for that long. But it gets loose and sometimes it falls through the little slits in the net cup. That's what people are making when they cut the slits in the yogurt cup. You can also just buy net cups from a hydroponic store. That's one side. The other side is the nutrient solution. And the nutrient solution is going to need some sort of water soluble, all balanced plant food that's going to provide all of the food that the plants need to grow. You're going to need a nutrient, and you're going to need something to test and adjust the pH. The pH is the acidity of the water. So plants grown hydroponically, typically almost every plant, the common garden plant in hydroponics, is going to thrive with a pH of 0.5. Neutral is 7. Anything over 7 is considered basic. So we want the water slightly acidic. And 5.5 is about the pH of lemon juice. But what you're going to need is a pH down, some sort of pH down product, which is an acid that not only fights the weak bases, like weak bases would be calcium carbonate, potassium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate, but you're going to fight the strong bases, and that's like, then so you're going to need a stronger acid to fight those stronger bases so that you can actually bring the pH down and not have it just spike right back up. Because most tap water is a little bit basic.
So for people who don't necessarily know everything that you just said, do you guys have a basic like pH adjustment kit or anything, or like nutrients that will help with that, or is that something that, where do people find that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we have one on our site right now. It's fine. It's a good solid one. It's the one I started with. We're working with a local hydroponic company right now to get something a little bit more advanced. So that's TBD. Probably before the end of the year, before 2026, we'll be selling some of their really cool nutrients and pH adjusting supplies. but we have a pH testing kit from General Hydroponics, which is which is pretty good. It's good enough that I use it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the name of the game with pH adjusting, is it just has to be good enough. You just got to
Yeah.
hit 5.5. There's nothing really fancy about pH adjusting. Nutrients, on the other hand, is a whole world. There's single part dry nutrients. There's liquid nutrients with steps for every step of the growing process, from vegetative growth all the way through like 3 different blends to get you through fruiting, through flowering. Uh, and then there's additives, so like calcium, like a CalMag. So there's a whole world. We sell the most basic beginner single part nutrients. It's complete, has everything that the plants need to grow. All of the plants that we sell that we designate as hydroponic friendly on our website, they'll do well with our nutrients, do well with our pH down. So yeah, it does not have to be that complicated, but you can get as complicated as you'd like.
So to kind of summarize that, for the most basic equipment to start a hydroponics garden at home, what are the bullet points of all the things we just talked about?
Okay, you need some sort of a reservoir, container to hold the water. You need some sort of a growing medium that's something soft that the plant starts in. You
Like coco
need
core or rock wool?
coco coir, rock wool, or our plants are ready to go. They pop right in because our growing medium it's a bonded medium that works in both hydroponic and soil gardening.
Okay, cool.
A net cup, something to hold the plant in place. You need a pH test, something to test the pH. So that's either litmus paper, drops, or a pH probe. And then something to adjust to respond to that. So a pH down product, something with a strong acid in it. Phosphoric acid is the main thing that I'm focusing on in a pH down,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's also a plant food. When it reacts with the carbonates in the water,
Okay, yeah.
the alkaline, yeah, it releases the phosphorus as available phosphorus. And then you need a nutrient,
Okay.
something to feed the
And
plant.
you guys sell a single powderized nutrient, you said?
Yeah, single part dry nut is what we would call it, but it's a powder, and you just there's a million ways to dose your. There's as many. There's probably 6 main different ways you could approach how to dose your hydroponic system, but the instructions that are on the back of the one that we sell is, and it's by AeroSpring, our partner, our
Yeah.
hydroponic partner. Yeah, so we
Okay, sweet.
yeah we sell that one. I like it. I like it. It works great. It's so easy. But I'm hoping that we get some more advanced level stuff soon. Um, it's coming.
Okay, sweet. So the next question was, I think maybe kind of in the same vein as that, but maybe it's slightly more advanced because it's bringing in lights. How do I know if my grow lights are providing enough light for my seedlings?
Oof. Look at the plants. That's the first question. If you're going to go buy plants, that's a whole world of questions that you need to answer. Um, First is like how many plants are you going to grow? What's your canopy? So that's the amount of leaves that are going to actually need the light. Are you going to be doing cooling? Because if you're going to be cooling your grow room, then you've got more options for lights that run hotter. But what's your energy bill that you're okay with? Because 1,000 watt um, sodium metal halide bulb that's running for, let's say, 18 hours a day is will have a noticeable increase and will also need cooling on your plants. LEDs have come a long, long way, and usually an LED will have some sort of like conventional sodium metal halide equivalent, but it's hard to know with LEDs like what that conversion is. So yeah, I like what I have to do is I have to go find when I'm sourcing grow lights, I have to ask those questions and then I have to do research on those specific plants about what type of PAR, that's photoactive region, that tells your light spectrum, how much, like how many actual photons the plants expect.
So getting back to like as a more beginner though, what could I, because I don't know how I would go about all that would take hours of research for me to
It
even
would take hours of
understand a lot
research
of the
for
thing
me
that,
to
yeah, exactly.
get you
So
what you want.
is there anything that I can do by looking at it? Like from looking at it, like you said in the beginning, what would be those visual cues that I'd be looking for to know if my grow
So
lights are actually enough for what I'm growing?
so yeah, you have a grow light, and you're like, is are my plants sick because I'm doing something wrong, or is the or is it just not enough light? It's a good question to be
Or
asking.
do my plants just not like me?
Or do my plants just not like you? I can't answer that last one for you. I'm sorry. What you're going to be seeing is you're going to be, imagine lettuce is a great example because we all see lettuce so often and we've seen it in the grocery store so many times. A head of romaine, maybe 10 inches, 10 inches tall, and the leaves are pretty compact and a nice dark green. But your romaine, all of the leaves are spread out like wide, and they're all really thin and they're curling a little bit, and they're skinny and they're stretching. So what the plant is doing is it's responding to those low light levels, and it's actually the hormones that the plant are producing are telling it, open up, I need light, because in nature it would be in the shade. So it'd be like, open up, I need light so that I can finally get to the point where I produce a flower and put the seed down, which is what I was born to do. So open, and the leaves will actually, the cells in the leaves will actually elongate, and that'll push those leaves out to be longer and thinner. So you'll see that in a poorly lit indoor grow, skinny, thin, weak. Like you touch them and the leaf breaks. And then also usually accompanied by that, you'll see two other things. That plant is so weak that if, for instance, aphids come in, they're gonna love it. Cell walls are thin and they're easy to pierce and just suck all of the sugars out of each cell. So you'll usually see an aphid infestation, and those aphids most likely didn't come when you put the plants in. They could have, but they probably came through the front door. As you were walking in, there's aphids, and the pests, spider mites, aphids are the two worst indoor pests, and they come in through the front door. They're just hanging
Mm,
on our sleeve, and all it takes is one. They are
yeah.
so prolific. There's that, and then you'll also see um, a lot of humidity. So these are the three things that I'll see together with insufficient lighting, insufficient dehumidification, and sometimes that's as simple as making sure that it's not a super closed room with no way to get air exchanged out of the room, and aphids. And once you have aphids, it depends on how far the outbreak's gone, but the first thing to do is to try and get those aphids from the plant that has most of them away from the plants that don't have them as fast as possible. So you're going to be removing that plant, potentially washing it, and sometimes you can wash it off. Sometimes you wash it and just call that the harvest. You eat that one, you're good. Now you've got an empty space ready for you to go to plant another plant. But there are all sorts of pesticide measures that you can take, everything from very benign, like some things that are practically useless, like diluted milk. I would hate to say, if diluted milk
Mm.
works for you, let me know. I've never seen it work. To neem oil, which is neem oil is really common and mildly effective. An organics spray that I find to be much more effective is called Azamax or Azera. It has the concentrate from neem oil. It's just more concentrated, but still comes from the neem tree. And then up to synthetics, which I'm not that familiar with, but there are synthetics that can kill pretty much anything.
Okay. So moving
So
past
light,
that
sorry,
one,
tangent.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to it. I mean, you've made an entire career out of it, so I get it. A lot of these questions are quite long answers, but I think they should be. They're helpful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I hope it's helpful.
Yeah. So this is the last kind of two questions that we have, and they're both about plant selection for new growers. So first off, which vegetables are easiest to grow for someone who's never gardened before?
Yeah, yeah. That's it's a good question. The easiest things to grow are going to be herbs and leafy greens. Lettuces are in the dandelion family. Dandelion is a weed. They're in the aster family, which also includes dandelions. So, relatively, and I hope that no one takes this who's had challenges with lettuces in the past. Maybe it's your growing climate, but leafy greens, that's lettuces, which are in the same family as dandelion, brassicas, which is your mustards, your kales, arugula, um, broccolis, cabbages. All of those are actually, it's not even a family, it's a species, the same species, brassica, that is from the wild mustard plant. They're just subspecies from the wild mustard, which is also a weed. Those ones are going to be really easy. And then your common garden herbs are going to be really easy. That's cilantro, green onions, cilantro and basil. Just seasonality kind of matters, but green onions, chives, both are a little bit harder to start from seed, but once you get them going, they're pretty much impossible to kill. Mint, oregano, thyme, sage. Once you get them started, they just don't like the roots to be too wet, so just don't overwater those. But yeah, those ones are going to be the easiest ones. But when it comes to veggies, as we're going into the fall season, cabbages are pretty easy. The weather's cooling down, so there's less likely of the little cabbage moth butterfly caterpillars coming and eating everything. They don't like the cool, they're not as reproductive during the cooler weather. So cabbages are really easy this time of year, and cherry tomatoes are pretty easy. Cherry tomatoes and cucumbers are pretty easy. So what's easy? That's one way to sort of look at the question. Those are what comes to mind: lettuces, leafy greens, common garden herbs, and then for veggies, cabbages and cherry tomatoes, cucumbers. But I would encourage people to go for what they eat a lot of, because if you eat a lot of it, presumably you like it a lot, and you'll eat it when it comes out and you'll be more excited for it. So that makes it a little bit easier to keep your attention. So there's like the psychology of it as well. If I'm trying to grow a plant that I am not going to eat, but it's really interesting, but I'm not going to eat it. I feel like it's easier to have that be just a novelty of starting, but I'm not caring so much about what comes out the other end that at a certain point I might just forget about it.
Yeah.
That can be the case for some of the really specialty peppers. That could be the case for like a loofah gourd.
Hmm.
A loofah gourd is going to like you got to wait a long time for it to dry out on the vine, and then you got to make it into the loofah gourd. They're really cool and really fun, and you might be excited about them, but they're more complex. They take more care, and you're not going to eat them. But like a radish, pretty hard to not be successful with a radish.
And
It's
if you
got
like
the
radishes, that's amazing.
yeah, 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 and there's lots of pretty common like culinary cultures that radish is a staple,
Yeah,
especially like a
exactly.
daikon. Um, so if you really like daikon radish, or you eat a lot of daikon radish, try growing a daikon radish.
That makes total sense. And when you guys are putting together your seasonal bundles and things like that, are you guys
Mhm.
thinking about seasonality in terms of what's going to be easiest to grow for your customers and whatnot as well? Like if somebody buys a seasonal bundle from you guys, is it something
Mhm.
that is already going to be kind of curated for easy growth for them?
Yes. So when someone buys a seasonal bundle, they can expect a good mix of things that are really easy to things that are more unique and might be a little bit more challenging to maybe nudge you a little outside of your comfort zone.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think a good example is our roots and shoots bundle. I have fava, which is really easy, fava bean, which is really easy, so easy, but it's a little less common, but it's also delicious. So that's
Mm.
something that's easy, a little unfamiliar, and very delicious. And then I've got something like a purple pole bean, which can be take a little bit more. For me, sometimes my pole beans, like I really gotta sort of make sure that they're not like, check on them a little more often. I feel like they can, if they're not putting on that vegetative growth or they're not trellised right, it's a little bit harder, even though it's maybe a little bit more common to use because you just use it like a normal green bean, but it's also purple, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
And then something like a radish, there's radishes in that bundle, which are bulletproof easy.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds like a good mixture of things. That makes a lot of sense, the way that you guys curate them. Okay, so I think that we just have one last question, and then I have one more question that you actually haven't seen yet. So the last question is, what herbs should I start if I want to see quick results in my first month? Or is that even possible?
This time of year, any time of year.
And maybe you're going from seedlings specifically from
Yeah.
one of the seedlings that you guys have. So maybe let's change that up a little bit. So what herbs should I start with if I want to see quick results my first month? And I'm going to be buying a seedling from Circa.
Okay. Okay. If you're trying to get quick results on herbs specifically, you're probably going to want to be in. That's a hard one because how quick is quick? Okay. So if you want quick results on a, if you want, ask me the question again.
Okay, so what herbs should I start with if I want to see quick results my first month and I'm buying a seedling from Circa?
Okay. From a seedling from us, the quickest results are going to be dill, parsley, and green onions after a month of growth. The reason why I picked those ones, cilantro too this time of year, the reason why I picked those ones is because they're really easy for cut and come again, meaning that you're going to take a little bit off.
Hmm.
Your first harvest is going to be small, but your next harvest is going to be bigger and then more and more and more. So those ones grow quickly to that first harvest. Whereas
Hmm.
basil, once you get it up and running and you're doing cut and come again, that takes like more like 6 weeks, 8 weeks before it's like big and booming. And then you're getting a ton. So you're going to get a ton of
Yeah.
basil once it's going. But for fast results, and you only need a little bit of dill, a little bit goes a long way. So that's why it's
Yeah,
going to
that makes sense.
feel more productive quicker because you don't need as much. So I'd say dill. Dill would be my response to a month of growth, but a month, and it depends on where you're at because, for us in the middle of July on a hydroponic tower, like forget all of that because I could get you a finished full bunch of parsley in like 3 weeks
Hmm. That's
versus like
interesting.
this time of year things are slowing down, which is kind of good for herbs because it gives them a little bit more time to develop the complex flavors. And then also growing in the soil is completely different from growing in hydroponics, so you're definitely going to need to be a little bit more patient. But yeah, I'd say dill,
More patient
parsley,
growing in
cilantro.
soil or more patient growing in hydroponics?
Way more patient growing in soil, but it's worth,
So,
i I think it's worth the wait sometimes. If you've got the space and you've got some really good soil, it can be worth the wait.
but growing hydroponically within 1 month, you might be able to see significant growth on certain plants, whereas in soil, that same plant might be much, much smaller.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay.
I could go grab you a 3 week old parsley from transplant. So the question was 1 month of growth, what should I grow to have quick results with herbs?
Yep.
Growing soil, growing in hydroponics, different timelines. Everything changes depending on the time of the year. But I think a good example is our frilled cilantro. So, frilled cilantro, This guy right here starts out about 3 inches tall. And then after 3 weeks of growth in the hydroponic tower, we're looking at this. So
Wow, that's
that
huge.
that's ready for its first harvest. And you can see that we've got, I don't know if you can see it, we've got small, younger growth coming down below.
Yeah.
So once you harvest off the top, and it's going to look a little bit ugly when you harvest this way for cilantro, but you can just harvest the leaves right off at the top, just as long as you're leaving some of that new growth right there
Yeah.
coming up.
And not cutting that part off. You just want to cut the more mature stuff on top.
Yeah, you can also take more time with it and like pull the tallest ones out and just take what you need. That'll and put them
Mm-hmm.
lower. That'll make it look a little bit cleaner and a little less ugly. But yeah, cilantro, parsley, dill, they're all in the family called Umbellifer, and they're pretty quick compared to like stuff that's in the mint family, the family Lamiaceae, which really likes to go slow and established. But once you've got it, then you've got it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think that's it. That's all been really, really helpful. The last question that I have, which wasn't on the original list from other people, but this is actually just a question from me because I was talking with you about this last week, and I think it kind of goes in line with a lot of this kind of new grower, new gardener, where should I start kind of questions. But could you show one of your new gardening kits that you guys just released?
Mm-hmm.
Because, and like show all the different things that you have with it, because it's so helpful. I love this whole new kit so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me grab one. All right, this is the new kit. This is our DIY hydroponic. DIY. This is our DIY seed starting kit, and it comes with 12. It comes with an instruction card, and it says right there what's on it. It has 6 seed packets, 6 plant label tags, and 12 expanding plugs. So these are expanding plugs. They're a little bit different from the bonded medium that we use for the plants that we send, but they are also hydroponic and soil compatible. So you get 12 of those. You get 6 seed packets. Right now, this kit includes romaine, green onion, kale, arugula, basil, and radish. Some really, I would try to go for the most popular, but still beginner friendly varieties, and things that are almost universally loved.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tray itself has a tearaway top, so there's a perforation along this hinge here, so you can actually tear this off. And it has tearaway plant tags, which are maybe a little hard to see, but all of these tags right here, they're your 6 plant tags.
So you just press those out and then use a little Sharpie to write what's on each of them.
Yep, exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
And
so
then
I
you can
mean,
use that bottom tray as the little grow tray, right?
right. So you just tip, so you've got 12, so you can do 2 rounds of growing. um,
Mm-hmm.
you just you put these in a bowl, you put 6 of them in a bowl, let them hydrate, and then they'll puff up to about like 2 inches, 2.5 inches tall. And then you place them back into here, and you've already torn away the plant tags. You label what you're planting, and then they sit in here, and you put them in a well lit window and as much light as they can get until they're ready to transplant. And we've got all the instructions on the instruction card right here. But yeah, so this packaging is, we put a lot of thought and design into this packaging to make sure that it's as little plastic waste as possible, but still protects your plants well. We also designed it to be dual purpose. So this is the same packaging that we send our live plants in. They fit just like this in this packaging and also come with the tearaway plant tags. Yeah, we don't want to create more waste, more plastic waste in the world. But we also know that we have to protect these seedlings so that they end up as healthy as they can be when they arrive. So as we were designing this, we had this DIY seedling kit in mind, um, so that we don't have to keep on creating different plastic products. We have a multi-use for this one plastic component. And it's also recyclable PET. That's the number one in the recycling sign.
So it's recyclable plastic still.
Yeah, recyclable plastic.
Oh wow.
And yeah, we're really, really proud of it. I think we tried to do our most to design packaging with both the planet in mind as best we can, working within our constraints, and as little waste and as multi-use that serves our customers as well as possible.
Yeah, no, it's so cool. I love that. I love that little tray and just the fact that the little, even just the little plant tags press out of the center of it. And then the tray itself can be used to grow in and all of that. Because if there's going to be plastic there already, it's so much more useful to be able to say, okay, cool. We're not going to print extra plastic tags and put them inside the plastic packaging. We're going to make it a part of it. And also just a cool part of it. It all like looks so, it's so fun to use and just like tear away the little bits and tear away the top lid that has its own labels for all the different seeds and all that stuff too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, we've spent so much effort on this. When someone gets our live plants, they get a printout of what plants are in each cell, A, B, C, D, E, or F. And people were having a problem where they would be like flipping back and forth like this, and they'd be like, "Which plant A? Oh, that's A." But the this is tearaway, so you can look at it while you're looking at the plants. And on the bottom side, we have A, B, C, D, so that you don't get confused while you're going to label your plants. Yeah, and we had
It's also
some.
clear, so you literally can look straight through it and see that's A, that's B.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we really, really tried to. I mean, the other thing is it was just hard to pack. Everything else for my team, which I've got to make sure I shout out my team: Sarah, Cornelio, Sebastian, Ruben, Mike, Annalise, everyone here. This would not work without the team of individuals who works here and keeps this thing running. I couldn't be more grateful to be working with them. But I had them in mind because I used to be on the packing line. I used to be the packing line. So I
Yeah.
was thinking, what can be more useful to my employees? What can cut out a step for them having to, because I wanted to include individual plant tags, but that was just an extra step of something that could be mixed up or confusing or frustrating while you're just trying to get the plants in the package and out the door to the customer. So
Yeah.
trying to take
That's
every
really cool.
single, like with the design of our packaging, trying to keep everyone who's going to be touching it in mind.
That's so cool. Well, I think that that's it. That's all of our questions. I think you've answered all of them so helpfully. So, is
I
there
hope
anything else you
so.
want to add?
No, I'm just keep growing, everyone. Yes, there's one thing I do want to do on every single podcast, and that's any guest who I have is
So, I think that was my last question. That was the last one that we got for this week. But was there anything else that you wanted to add?
yes, yes. There's one thing that I want to have in every single podcast, and I hope I don't forget it, but I want to ask the guest, what recently have you grown that got you excited? Or if you haven't grown anything recently, what's something that you're excited to grow in the future? It recently can be anytime in the past month, year, 10 years, something
Ugh.
that you've grown that you got excited about. And
I don't know if I've ever grown anything without your help.
okay, okay, but no, that's not true. You've got stuff. We were working on plants last weekend.
That's true. I mean, I was chopping down a bunch of plants because I have a bunch of trees.
We did tree trimming, but that counts.
I've cultivated plants that were already there quite a bit.
Hmm.
Like I've had trees for a long time and I've cared for them quite a bit. My favorite plant that I have is in the front yard and it's this tree that I think that the people who previously owned the house made it into a lime slash tangerine hybrid plant, and it grows these like lime tangerine orange things that are just the most tasty little citruses that I know of.
You're just You're talking about the big lime tree? No,
No,
with the
well, there's
because
the no
you
no
got a
no.
lot of
There's the big
citrus.
one that has the tiny little lemon limes. I don't like those really,
Yeah.
but those are okay. But then next, like forward towards the street,
Mhm.
there's this little like orange
I'm pretty
tangerine
sure.
lime,
I'm pretty sure it's just a tangerine.
but they're so green.
Yeah, but then they write it up. But either way, that counts. That counts. It's your
But
plant.
no, but I don't,
You
I don't,
cared
I
for
don't
it.
think that they are because they'll be fully green, and then if you eat them while they're fully green, they're perfectly beautiful orange on the inside,
Hmm.
and they're super sweet
Well,
while they're still green on the outside.
there's a bunch that are super green on there right now. So you should
They're,
get
I,
eating.
if you peeled one right now, it would be super sweet. Which is why I don't think it's just a purely a tangerine tree. Because usually, if they'd be green, they'd be a little bit harder. They taste like they're almost ripe while they're 100% lime green.
Well, I think that that's a perfect answer to the question.
All right.
Your wild citrus that we don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
it ripens up all weird and it's delicious.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a perfect answer. Okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
going to wrap it up. This is thank you for being on the first episode. Thank you for encouraging me to do this. It's something that we've been talking about for a long time. And to anyone who listened, I hope you got something out of this.
Yeah. Plant talk.
Yeah, it's a little bit of plant talk, cultivator connections. You can find us on Instagram and online. Instagram is Serica_cultivation, and our website is www.sericacultivation.com. It's where you can find us. And yeah, keep growing.
All right. Sweet. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.